We'll just wait a few more minutes here to see if anyone else is going to join us. Also, if the Secretariat could start giving mic access.
Mic access is turned on. Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Joe, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Just looking, I know Mike is trying to join us, so we'll just wait for him. Peggy, good morning. Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good morning.
Peggy? Oh, I just saw.
Yes.
No, I just saw your hand up.
Did you hear that?
No, I just saw your hand up.
Oh,
Okay.
just playing.
I need to commend you both. We've never been this far ahead in the process on Thursday morning in my 5 years of these meetings.
I think this platform has possibly something to do with it, with maybe limiting discussion. But I hope that's not the case.
Right.
That's why we need you
I
to
think you might
return
be
as
nominating
chairperson
yourself
and
right now,
vice chairperson next year.
Funny.
So I know Mike is trying to connect. We just tried to send him a link. I'm not sure if anyone else is going to be joining us, but just want to make sure that everyone get a copy of the minutes in their email that they're able to review. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. You joining us from the beach? Mike got the link yet, or are we still expecting him?
Billy, are you down in Mexico?
Yes, I am. In Sayulita, beautiful Nayarit.
Nice.
Caught some waves this morning and I'm all ready to go.
Very jealous.
Very jealous. That's okay, but I pay my penance. I have lots of time with guts all summer long. It's not all glamour.
Okay, it seems like joined us, so I'd like to call the meeting to order.
It seems like Mike has joined us. So I'd like to call the meeting to order.
Was there anything that particularly jumped out to people in the minutes, or do we want to start on page 6 and kind of go through it together? No, Jessie, if you have any suggestions. Peggy?
Peggy? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would recommend the latter, that we go through it together. I started about 20 minutes after this was sent to everyone, and I have only gotten, I didn't get very far, but I did find some departures from last year's format, and so I have a couple of questions about that. But they're minor. We can wait till the end to get to them. We can start on page 6, I think. That would be good.
Okay. So again, if you do need the window to be expanded, if you kind of hover your cursor to the top of the window, sort of a bar appears and there's 4 arrows pointing, so that expands it. I know for point 5, where the PAB noted the issue identified whereby the chairperson and vice chair may change at the start of the PAB meeting, I'd like to insert which could limit the degree of preparedness for a meeting by incoming chairs. Peggy? So I'd just like to point out for point 7, David Wilson inserted that one as he sort of picked up while listening to the recorded audio from the meeting that we did have a little bit of an issue with K-Bay Fisheries trying to join the meeting. So Jessie and I had a little bit of back and forth with him last night over email. He let us know that point 7 was inserted. Peggy?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
can
Peggy?
you hear me?
Yes.
Did you hear my comment about
No,
number
we did
1?
No, we did not.
I thought I was talking to myself. So I think my mic was discontinued there. Under number 1, it's a simple fix, and it keeps this consistent with former minutes. Under number 1, opening of the session, and the first paragraph, the last line in it, starting with Appendix 1, period, the meeting was opened by, there should be an insert of Hannah, President, Ms. Jessie Keplinger, who welcomed participants. If the group would agree, I'll move on to my next edit. Now I know why people have 3 monitors. Thank you on that one. I agree with your addition to number 5 of the word could. I think that makes sense.
Peggy,
Blake, hold on. Peggy, Blake had his hand up, just quick.
Go ahead.
Blake? His hands down and mic, so Peggy, carry on.
Well, let's just take the S out of limits, Carl, when it's been done.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Under number 7, I edited the part that refers to me. Let me pull that up. So the first 5 lines are fine. On the 5th line,
starting with first spire.
5. Okay. So the 5th
Starting
line.
with first spire.
My change starts on the 5th line towards the end, the beginning of the last sentence. Ms. Parker indicated.
Okay.
So I would keep the first 4 words, Ms. Parker indicated that, and then insert the following. K-Bay Fisheries would need to provide a letter of verification that it is a first buyer of Pacific halibut and that it designates Mr. Kirill, K-I-R-I-L, Basargin, B-A-S-A-R-G-I-N, as its representative to the PAB, period. The last sentence is, Mr. Basargin said he would do so.
Okay.
End of paragraph.
Okay. Yes, Jessie. Yes, Jessie. Yes. Yes.
Not to draw this section out too much, but it was where the confusion ran with Dr. Wilson yesterday. Peggy, I realized that you had said letter during the audio part of that, but when I did look up the rules of procedure, it doesn't actually specify letter. It says authorization from company. I just wonder if we should hyphen that somewhere. I don't know if put that after letter as that was what you were indicating that we needed some authorization from his company. I guess I think that was where Dr. Wilson got confused because there's in the rules of procedure, from what I can see, it does not specifically say a letter. It does, but it does say authorization.
Yeah, yes.
So.
Yep, you're absolutely right, and I'm happy to reference that. We do talk about looking at those rules of procedure again so that there is more clarification there. So I do think we include it in the minutes, but we could certainly reference it here and say something like
I think we could just
whole
keep it.
sentence.
I think we could just
go ahead, Carl.
like authorization.
Just keep it as.
Sorry, let me just. Just would need to be authorized. To some degree. Because I know, going back to Jessie's comment from Dr. Wilson last night.
Back to Jessie's comment.
He was very...
from Dr. Wilson last night. He was very...
I don't know if there's maybe put a comma that we could make
authorization. Yeah, I think it
authorization
recommended.
That's sorry, thank you. Perhaps. Sorry, thank you.
So sorry, you guys. I'm getting cut off occasionally, but I agree with what Carl said. So K-Bay Fisheries would need to provide authorization that it is a first buyer would be fine. Would that satisfy your needs?
Jessie?
I believe so. Jessie?
I agree. I was going to say similar wording, just saying provide a letter of verification and perhaps comma and say serving as the authorization from his company or something that references. I feel like that's what we've done in the past. So
that sounds fine to me.
Okay, we'll put that in and see what comes back from it. Is that okay with the way it reads now, Peggy?
Peggy?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, you guys.
If the secretary could just scroll down maybe a little bit more to the bottom of perfect. Are there any issues with 0.89 or 10? Okay, if you can scroll on to the top of page 7, please. Yes, Peggy.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Is this any better? I've got...
No.
I don't have a
No, this
headset
is a lot clearer.
handy, but I've got the earbuds in.
Yes.
It's better, okay. I do have a edit for number 10. My comment, sorry, I don't have an edit. I just have a comment that this was not discussed at the PAB. It was noted from the executive director I think privately to the chair and vice chair, but we as a PAB, we only heard that the proxies would be tallied separately. So I'm not sure if anyone else thinks this should be changed, but I'm happy to leave it as it is. I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, I did, at the start of yesterday's meeting, did go through that with the group to let them know that we were to count the proxies as separate. So I don't know if, I guess I'm okay with leaving it as is, because I felt like everybody needed to know why we were going, like,
yeah.
I just, sorry, this is me again. Apologies. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I think you're right, Jessie. Thank you.
If we can scroll down then a little bit more to the top of page 7, thank you. So for points 11, let's see if there's any issue. Peggy?
My issue does not come up until number
I'm okay
4,
with
fishing period.
12 and 13. So on to fishing periods. Point number 14. Thank you. Yes, Peggy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just added some justification to these motions as I recalled them. So this is a little complex, but I'm sure Kamala can keep on here. Thank you very much. So on 14, the PAB agreed. I struck the word on and replaced it with that.
Okay.
And an opening date, and the rest of that line is good. And then under subset A, members, I struck voiced in favor of and replaced it with supported. A later start date is good. Yeah, sorry I didn't have all the details in here for you. And added given after date and struck due to. And COVID-19 travel restrictions and quarantine I kept. Struck periods and replaced that with mandates, and then added to that sentence the following. That would require 40 days in some areas.
I'm sorry, through the chair, Peggy or Miss Parker,
Sorry.
can you go back a couple steps there?
Sure.
Sorry, I missed it.
Sorry, that's okay, Ed. Is this Ed? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Henry. So where are we? So it should read, the way I had it was members supported a later start date, comma, given, good, COVID-19 travel restrictions and quarantine, strike periods, and insert mandates and the following sentence. Ready to type. Thank you. That would require a small t on that. There you go. And after require, the rest of the sentence is 40 days in some areas. Sorry, to bring a full workforce to the plant, period. New sentence, during the pandemic, comma, safety of employees, comma, fishermen, comma, and communities is, and then strike, where are you? Is, and then strike as safety is, and then leave of utmost concern to remain open to purchase fish. The rest of that sentence is good. And then the next sentence reads, as it starts, there was concern, and then strike around and replace that with the following. About whether an early date would allow NMFS, yeah, that's good, and the new administration in the U.S., and then strike giving NOAA and leave the rest of the sentence.
Yes, Jessie.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just to help with Ed doing some editing, if there is if we come to another series of sentences that perhaps is longer, like the one we just did, maybe you could put if you've already got it typed up, put it in the chat, and then he can reference that. And
Yeah.
If Peggy's done, I feel like the wording for 14B is not incredibly clear. I almost think we should say members opposed or members in favor of earlier or mid-March start date of the
Mr. Chair,
fishery.
Want me to write that up? I've got a, oh, I can cut and paste, yay. Let me just put what I've got in the chat.
Yes,
through the chair, I have the workspace up there that the presenters can work in, so you can actually do the edits and updates, and then I could place that into the report when completed.
That there?
Sorry, I do see that. So this doesn't show the edits, unfortunately. So it doesn't show the strikeouts. It shows, okay, so that's what you have, and then do you want me to just cut and paste in there? Oh, that will work, maybe. So that's I don't know that it did that. Yeah.
Right. Hi, Peggy. I had already posted in the one you put in the chat, but it looks like you can.
Okay, but it doesn't show that that is deleted, for instance.
It did work. We just posted that, but we can see what you I think Ed will just use that as the guide, and he will go through and make the edits on the strike through.
Oh, okay. So where are you seeing my edits?
It's just a little bit easier for him to read from here rather than speak it, I believe. I see that you copy pasted members that prefer an earlier or i.e. mid-March start date of the fishery, noted a need in the market for fresh fish and larger quota.
Okay, so that's not, what doesn't show, what I added shows, but what I crossed out doesn't show. So my edit ends at the word sablefish available, period, that phrase. Is there a way I can cross that out, Ed? The because supply all the way down to quotas caught?
While I'm doing the updates, I can do the crossouts. This just helps so I don't have to transcribe exactly what you're saying. So we can work together.
Yeah, absolutely. But are you seeing my crossouts anywhere? Because I don't see it in the chat room or the workspace.
No.
It does not appear that the crossouts are possible here, but you can also use italics up top or underline.
Thank you.
That's an option as well.
Thank you, Ed. That's great. I'll do that from now on. And for this, see if I can get it. Yeah. Okay, we're going to underline. We're going to try to, there we go. So underline means delete. Thank you. Good, that's it. That's it for that one.
Okay, am I missing anything at this point?
think you got it, Ed.
Sorry, there's one addition, Ed, if you don't mind. Who should be inserted, the word who, W-H-O, after members and before preferred. Thank you.
Okay. Any issues with point 15?
And as a node, I will copy and paste everything from the workspace so we have a record in case we need to reference.
Can I move on to point 16 if there's no issue with 15?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
just have a question on 16 about 2A, and I haven't gone through, that's to the extent that I've been able to edit this document, so I'm not that familiar with where we do mention
2A, we did
opening
mention it
dates
in point
in 2A.
26. So there is a little bit of, not to jump too far ahead, but it was pointed out in point 25 does make things a little bit confusing because, not to have Ed jump back and forth, but the PAB recommended that the Commission adopt proposal Prop A2 with the start date of April 3rd and closing date of November 15th. It's pointed out that in favor it was not unanimous. We did, we can maybe show the votes again from point 16, but where it was unanimous was for point 26.
Correct.
Okay, so Peggy, are you okay from moving on from point 16?
I think I haven't been able to see the changes.
I mean, we'll get to point 24, 25.
But right now,
this is just the straight season opening and start date.
let me just make sure.
I mean, 2A always has to comply within that period, regardless.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering if there were changes to 16, and I see there weren't. So yeah, I'm good to go forward there.
Moving on to 17.
Thank you.
There's nothing wrong there. I think 18 covers it. $19 though, yeah, not to adjust. Okay. Point 20. Yes, Jessie? Yes, Jessie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything
Okay.
to say on 20.
Jump to 21 then.
But I did have something to say about 21. So I guess if we're moving on to that, that'd be great. I can say what I want to say. But
okay. Jump to 21 then.
Just so the members know, this is, I guess, where we would want to give our reasoning behind choosing an SPR of 43. So we mentioned that it honors the agreement, the interim agreement, and we put backed by science because I had a tough time coming up with last night all of our reasoning behind the SPR 43, with the thinking that we supported the SPR 43 because of the science presented by Dr. Hicks and Dr. Stewart, as it remains, it follows the 30-20 control rule, indicating that there's less than a 50% chance that the biomass would decline below a level that would indicate conservation concern. That was sort of my thinking, but I'm opening it up to conversation. Perhaps somebody else has a better wordage.
Correct? Peggy? This is covered.
Sure, yeah, or just the general consensus that we would.
Yeah, I think those are good additions, but I would change the existing language, if we could, just move it around a little bit. The harvest policy is what dictates that table, and part of the harvest policy is the interim agreements. But the way this sentence is constructed, it looks as though we are stating, now I've lost my place, sorry, backed by science. We are stating that the interim agreements are backed by science, and there was some pushback in the U.S. side on that issue. I one suggestion is to just state that part of the harvest policy is to honor the interim agreements, and we are agreeing with the harvest policy of the IPH, of current harvest policy of the commission. And it may be a small distinction that no one cares about, but I do think that the other comments that you made, Jessie, are things that are backed by science. The 2A and the 2B ones are outside of that, I think, in terms of everything except what the commissioners have agreed to. The MSAB has looked at them, and putting a minimum on a regulatory area is not a non-impactful practice. So go ahead, Jessie.
So Peggy, I guess if I could just real quickly, I think maybe the confusion, right? So backed by science was more of us saying that the SPR 43 was backed by science. So I'm thinking perhaps we say that the numbers in Table 1 referencing an SPR 43% honor the part of the harvest policy, or something about, part of the harvest policy is to honor the interim agreements is what I put here, but perhaps we want to put something about referencing the SPR 43%, and then saying that this honors the harvest policy, and then go into being then also just saying that the SPR 43 is backed by science. I think that it's two separate statements, and I see where the confusion is there.
Yeah, good morning. If memory serves me correctly, and I can't quite hear what Jessie's saying, but the reason, and I think did I not put the motion forward to go with the FR 43? Because I do remember saying that there wasn't much difference between an FR between 43 and 46, and 43 was okay with the MSE process, and in the stock assessment, the coast-wide biomass is predicted to continue to decline for the next 3 to 5 years, and so 43 or 46, 43 was one, right? I think that's why we went with the 43, and I don't remember anything about honoring the agreement for 2A and 2B, because if I remember correctly, at the very beginning, we got to catch limits, you said there's an agreement in place, and that was the end of conversation. So the reason we went for 43 was that it's a conservative approach for catch limits as per that table, because of the declining biomass predicted to happen over the next 3 to 5 years.
In point 18, where the PAB noted that there were discussions of a range between SPR 46 and 43 as options within which a balance between industry needs and sustainability resource conservation can be found. Dr. Stewart's presentation showed the minimal difference for future risk of stock declining by using F43 reference.
Right, but I agree with, that science has nothing to do with the agreement for
and backed
2A
by
and
science
2B.
is more pertaining to areas the distribution between areas 2C, 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B, and 4C, D, and E. So no, I know, but that was a discussion that the U.S. breakout delegation was having, and that's what we're just noting in here.
That's a good point, I think, Mr. Chairman. So we could add that. Yes, go ahead, Jess.
I think I don't necessarily think it's the distribution. Again, I don't think it's the distribution between areas. I think it's the SPR, maybe the total SPR, like our total removal was the number we were targeting. I guess I don't necessarily, that was my understanding, is that we're choosing an SPR 43 because we feel like that's a conservative approach and maintaining the biomass. I don't think it has any, I don't think we chose that number specifically because of the distribution per area. So I guess, you know, the modified SPR 43% is what we actually chose because that's the one that was given by Dr. Stewart on that slide. And that one honors the harvest policy in regards to the interim agreement, and the total removal is at as in Blake's words, is a conservative approach that doesn't put us at risk going below the control rule. Again, I don't necessarily think it has something to do with it. We did speak about distribution, but I don't necessarily feel like that's why we chose the SPR 43%. We chose that because we felt like...
I completely agree, through the chair. So Jessie and Carl, would you accept this, just a small change in 21, and it would be inserting these words between and backed by science, and it would be, let me just get my thoughts organized, and the remainder of the mortality limits or catch limits are backed by science, or the remainder of the regulatory area are backed by science.
I think we should separate it out completely and say that this honored
that sounds good.
The interim agreements for regulatory 2A and 2B, and then perhaps start a new sentence that says yes, an FPR of 43% limit.
I think that's
so that
good because the point I think I don't want us to lose is that the PAB separately and together made a conscious decision to honor the interim agreements this year. I don't want that lost. So 2 sentences would be fine. So end at 2B period, and then a new sentence, and maybe you could say that again.
Is it harvest intensity, a harvest intensity of SPR 43%?
It would be F43. Yeah. We'll take SPR out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oops.
Harvest intensity at 43. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily think we want to just leave that as backed by science, but the harvest intensity of F43.
And, well, we can say of F43 in the control rules and the harvest policy.
Minimal risk on, I guess.
No, go ahead. Okay, I'll go ahead. It's like being on a CB. Harvest intensity of F43.
As presented. Are you, sorry, if you're typing, go for it. I'll say. Go for it. I'll put it on it.
Apply are supported for the rest of the regulatory areas. I don't know. This is a first stab at it.
harvest intensity of F43, I would say limits.
Or just say the harvest intensity of F43 is acceptable?
Limits the risk, or something along those lines. Is acceptable per the control rules of the harvest policy. Because I guess
yes.
That's what my understanding is that because we
so the harvest intensity of F43 is acceptable. We've sort of set that up above 2.
We were given, that it would not, it would fall within the control.
And we could just say IPHC advice for the rest of the regulatory areas. Oh, okay.
I don't know why we're spacing out the rest of the regulatory areas. I guess that's why I'm confused. If that needs to be in there, it can be, and I know that we discussed that. I guess our discussion from the U.S. side was that we didn't think that if the commissioners felt like things needed to go to different areas or they needed to shuffle around
coastwide, yeah,
the quota per area, that was fine. But
okay.
I don't feel like we chose the F43. We chose that because of the total.
So why? What do you think should go into that second sentence? If we want to separate these two ideas out, what should go into that second sentence?
Just that it's similar to what we said, I think, in 18, that the F43 is the balance between industry and sustainability. It's the same sentence, so I guess that's the same point.
Would you be? That's fine. That's fine with me. Would you be happy if we just cut and pasted that sentence down there? So we repeated it twice? That would be fine.
I don't know if there was anyone else in that U.S. breakout room that could maybe shed a little bit more light or help this along. Heather?
Hi, thanks. I'm late to this meeting. I apologize. I had another thing I had to do. So I think that the general decision was that F43 was the right harvest intensity, and as far as the other areas other than 2A and 2B that are at issue, that it was said out loud that we would leave it to the commissioners. I mean, that was what was said. I don't know if that's formal enough, but any decisions regarding TCE-wide distribution would be made by the commissioners. I mean, that's actually what we said, if I recall.
So I think what's possibly going on is just a reiteration of point 18, but Jessie, I thought when we discussed yesterday when we were going over the minutes, that the Canadian, or the 2A and 2B, you recognize that, honor that agreement, and then the breakout in the rest of the other areas more or less followed what Heather just outlined right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess that's whatever you guys want to put down. I'm fine with that. I just don't think we necessarily need to break out talking about.
That's what we said, yeah. We didn't intend for that to extend to 2A and 2B. I wouldn't use the word honor myself, but it includes those agreements it reflects those agreements or whatever you want to say, but 2A and 2B reflects the agreements that were made by the commissioners earlier. But the rest of the regulatory areas, we didn't move any of the distribution around and are leaving that to the commissioners if they want to do it. We didn't even say they should. We just said if they do, then that'll be their business.
And Heather, I guess we spoke about that. I'm just confused as to why that would even, because that we didn't talk about it, or I guess we did talk about it. Anyway, I'll stay out of it. So I changed reflects the interim agreement of IPHC area, reflects the harvest policy. I don't. Anyway,
yes,
and then
Peggy.
The harvest intensity of F43.
Mr. Chairman,
you said something, and
I agree with what. Thank you. I agree with Heather's recollection of what was said. I guess my concern is we could say that was said in the breakout session for the U.S. delegation, but to make this the minutes of the entire PAB, I guess is what we're sort of struggling with. I think maybe what Jessie's struggling with too. And rather than say that whatever the commissioners decide to do will be okay, I would suggest something like a reiteration in that second sentence that we accept, or that's the only word I can come up with, we accept the scientific advice provided by Dr. Stewart.
Okay.
I'd leave
Yeah,
the
I would
MSC
too.
out of this one.
Is that okay then for point 21? Jessie, are you okay with it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Your mic needs to be turned on, Jessie. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ed. Okay, so moving on, the table below I think is acceptable. Moving on to point 6. Yes, Heather.
Chairman, I couldn't tell really whether the writer of the minutes was going to change the word honor to reflect, which is what in the workspace it was changed to. I don't know who's in charge of each of those spaces, but
You just want to scroll up a little bit, please, Ed. A little bit more. Thank you. Mean it.
in the workspace that word honor was changed to reflect. Another word you could use is include.
I could see it almost going sort of both ways. I mean, it does honor the agreement that's set in place.
Yeah, I see that. I just don't want to give the impression that there was any discussion regarding the nature of the agreement. That's all. Because there really wasn't. Well, maybe there was a little bit from me,
yes,
but.
Peggy.
Mr. Chairman, I agree.
Yes.
I agree. I think this is a semantics more than anything else, and honor or reflect would be, I wouldn't object to either one equally.
So, let's see, does anyone else have any other opinion? I'd like to keep honors in then, if there's no other opinion. So moving then on to point 6, please. I think we did sort out point 25, correct? So looking at point 26, is that where we want to change agreed to PAB recommended? Because we did have a vote on it where it was unanimous. Peggy? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think we should make that change.
you just want to put the unanimous vote there in the bottom of it, Ed? Perfect. Thank you. Is that okay then with point 26? Jessie, are you okay with it? Peggy, in the meantime?
I'm just struggling with the
Okay.
order of words so that it makes sense. The PAB recommended that based on, want me to type this somewhere? Let's see. My cursor's not really working in Workspace. Thanks. That would be great. Thank you.
I can, if Ed puts it up there, Peggy, I can type it for you while you speak.
So a quick question to the staff. Are all of these recommendations and agreements and noted and those verbs, are they all in the past tense? So it feels like we should be saying the PAB agrees, no, not agrees, the PAB recommends. And then following that, I was thinking of saying based on a recommendation from the Pacific Fisheries Management Council.
Recommended is the proper term. Yes.
Is the word, okay. Okay, so Ed, can you strike agreed and good, you've got it. Okay, great.
Blake?
It should just read the PAB recommended acceptance of an IPHC regulatory 2A. So the only thing you have to...
It's not. It was acceptance of, it's not acceptance of what the IPHC produced, it's acceptance of what the Pacific Fishery, the PFSMC recommended, Pacific Fisheries Management Council.
What you're looking for after recommended is acceptance or approval, whatever.
Sure, either way, but what she was giving us was the council recommendation on the way that the council is going to manage the 2A fishery this year. It's a catch sharing system, and we're in the middle of shifting management from the IPHC to the council for the halibut fishery. So the council is recommending to the IPHC that they change the dates for fishing from Monday, Wednesday to Tuesday, Thursday. Or sorry, that was wrong. You've got it right here.
So perhaps we change the wording to the PAG recommended to start date of the non-tribal directed commercial fisheries.
I think that would be perfect.
Fisheries to Tuesday rather than Monday.
I'm not sure about that
Thursday
in
rather
addition
than
phrase because I couldn't hear you, but otherwise it sounded great.
Or I don't know what goes there. In addition to fishing periods as detailed in section 4, based on the recommendation from the council. So
Lynn Mattis.
Nick. So
Lynn.
She's from Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Using PAB026
and
instead of her own name.
Can you tell me who again?
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry. Hard to. Yes. Thanks, Lynn.
And if it's red on here, then you can get rid of it. So it should read, the PAB recommended to move the start of the non-tribal directed commercial fisheries. I think we should put 2A. A non-tribal directed commercial fishery to Tuesday rather than Monday, and ending Thursday rather than Wednesday.
No.
I don't. This part was added in addition of the fishing periods detailed. I would say probably in addition of the fishing periods as detailed in section 4.
What does section 4 refer to?
Based on, no.
Our minutes or
there is more information
regulation
there about the start date is after June 1st and starts at a certain time. We didn't speak to that at all. So I wonder if that's what's being referenced.
Okay. No, I'll trust you that it's necessary to put in, let's just say,
it refers to proposition.
To the details included in section 4.
What prop is that? We can bring that up if you want, Peggy, so you can read it.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. In addition to the details of fishing periods.
Yeah, there is no prop on it.
In section 4.
That came from
should we say, Carl, do you think we should say a prop, of what a proposition that is?
Oh, sorry, you're right.
A3?
Okay. This is the prop from IPHC, sorry.
Or is it the one up above it? No, this one. Can you scroll up just a little bit, Ed?
Perfect.
That's okay. Prop A2. So section 4 of.
Can we? Yep. We could we change of to from?
Of A2. Based on the recommendation of.
Perfect.
PFMC. How's that look? Yes.
You could say included. Oh, never mind. You've got it there. That's fine.
Yes, Jessie.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Ed, if I do think we would maybe need to say, so it says to move the start of the...
And I see in our side chat, Jessie, that Ed asked what PFMC stood for. Don't know if we need to spell it out.
That's a good idea to spell it out, and it's Pacific Fisheries Management Council.
Fishery. So if you just want to grab it from the side chat, Ed. just wondering if I was just waiting to see if he was going to write out PFMC. That's what I was just waiting on. Sorry, Ed.
Pardon me, through the chair, I put it as part of the abbreviations at the top.
All right, sorry about that, guys. Moving on to 27. '27, 28 are fine. Yes, Peggy.
Mr. Chair, I do have a quick question on, is this the one that talks about changing the regulation on authority to monitor offloads?
Prop 83.
I apologize. I think this, yeah.
Just pulling it up really quick. Yes.
This is the one that changed section 22. So is it, you guys are fine, I think, the way that it is, and I think I would be too, but I just wanted to ask on the record for the rest of the PAB's members. We were assured by the executive director that this would not supersede any health mandates during the pandemic. Do we need to note that, or are we good to just go with it as presented?
I'm good with it to go as presented.
I'm fine with it as presented.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Moving on to 29. Agreed to abstain from that. Questions or comments? Jessie? Yeah, so for point 32. Okay. Is that okay with everyone, how point 32 reads? Appears so. Moving on. I know 33, there was a comment brought up. The PAB noted that there is current opposition towards removing the current Pacific halibut size limits due to economic and marketing concern. There is also a note given we're taking recruitment and it may encourage high grading. I'd say may encourage. Some people might be honest about it. Yeah, that's what he's doing right now. Yeah. Peggy, I see your comments in the chat. Did you get dropped? Was your mic not working? Okay.
No, I'm just exercising.
Okay.
Playing with things here.
I think marketing generalizes the point you just wrote in there.
Yes, I think it would.
I just don't want it to be too wordy.
I just want to emphasize. Yeah, I would be fine with that.
Thank you, Ed. Moving on to 34. Heather, are you okay with how that reads? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for asking. I think it reflects the actual motion. I have a question. You may have already covered this, and I apologize if you have. Is there a list of the motions and the votes on the motions somewhere else, or is this just this wording is intended to reflect that there was an actual motion?
Yeah, so I can see what you mean by using recommended. That would have constituted that we voted on it, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that's what it means. You know, I see the different words that are recommended by the Secretariat have meaning, and in 33, for example, when you say noted, that means clearly that there was no vote, that was just opinion that was expressed, which is...
Go back and go like we did in point 32, where in favor unanimous. You can go look back on the...
Yeah, that would be good. No. Unless it's noted elsewhere, Mr. Chairman, I think it's useful to people to know. I had a chance to look at the draft notes for the conference board, and in their notes, it talks about the vote after each motion. It details the vote. That may not clearly not as necessary, but I'm just thinking that it's information that people might be interested in.
In the report here, if there was some disagreement, it's outlined, like if there was some people against or abstentions, it's noted, but in where it's unanimous, we've just gone with unanimous rather than breaking it out.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
The only other thing that I'd like to sort of bring up, I believe, point 35 and 36 are okay. But when we look at the Appendix 1 with the list of the participants, obviously we had a different group of people that registered versus attended. So I'm a little bit confused how this is going to be sort of outlined there. If we want to take out the companies that registered but didn't attend, or how we want to handle it. Peggy?
I think your question really goes to the issue that a small group of us have been grappling with for about a week, and maybe the entire PAB should be asked their thoughts on this. Our current, in effect, rules of procedure only would list the members of the PAB who are in attendance at the meeting, so who are on the phone or communicating by electronic means, or their proxies, or members who have been accredited and have proxies active with other members. So in that case, this list should be updated to include only the representative that was in attendance. I do believe we should, if not at this meeting, at some maybe subsequent meeting on email, get feedback from PAG members, and actually I think it should be a full meeting of the PAB to decide whether or not we want to change the rules of procedure and the terms of reference, and how we should do that. We could discuss it during this coming year and then decide next year. It doesn't really help us to, those comments don't help inform this decision ahead of us right this minute. So I
understand
open the floor to what other people think.
You know, especially going into this year being virtual, you know, where the Secretariat, you know, wanted to know who was going to sort of attend the meeting beforehand, just for organizational purposes. But definitely where it did get confusing were people signed up and then didn't attend. Which is basically what's on here right now. Yes, David Wilson, Dr. Wilson. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me there? Fantastic. No, thanks for allowing me to take the time. Just, yeah, in regard to Appendix 1 here, this is the list that was drawn up based, as has been indicated, on those who had registered and put in their accreditation and authorization forms for the meeting. It will need to be updated based on those who were in attendance, and we have that record that can be used to update it. There were a couple of those who were submitted their authorization accreditation forms, and it appears as though they couldn't access the meeting at the start, and were in the wrong meeting rooms and were not accredited or authorized as a result. So, but for those, we're going to just cross-check who was present. We'll put together the member list for this meeting, and then we'll put together another list that will standardized with all the other meetings, to essentially list them as observers, and we'll put some caveats around there in terms of the
then
authorization.
In the context of this appendix, and us going over the minutes right now, would you like us to edit this as we see it? Okay.
It wouldn't hurt if you have that record. I wasn't listening at the start of the meeting, so if you know, you just highlight in green. For example, rather
we'll do that right now. Thank you.
It'll save me typing in later. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Jessie. Okay. I think just for context, to make this a little bit quicker, beside PAB members, you can just maybe add PAB members in attendance and just highlight that green. And then we can just go down the list and green the people that were here, that participated. So just quickly, well, I guess we'll highlight the company and also the representative. So 7Cs and Nick was here. And please, if anyone else notices a discrepancy, let me know. Aero Trading was here by proxy. I know Liam was in attendance for a period of time, but he did not vote. Coldfish Seafoods, Mr. Casey was here. SM Products, BC, Blake Tipton. With Pacific Seafoods Canada, I don't know if that sort of gets lumped in with Pacific Seafoods down on the bottom, because there wasn't a representative from their Canadian division. So if you want to get rid of that green number 6 there, please. Thank you. Definitely 170 degrees west. Heather. Dana F. Bessiger, Mr. Miles. One below it, yeah. Halibut Association in North America, Peggy Parker. Kachemak Bay, yeah, William. OBI Seafoods. And Jessie, I believe it was Dawn. John was in for a period of time, and Duff was here as well, correct? Pacific Seafoods. Kit and Mike. Okay, and Northport Fisheries, Tyler, good night. Seafood Producers Co-op, Joe. And Yakutat Seafoods, Greg. And then I just want to ask the Secretariat if Scarlet Point Seafoods did fill out the questionnaire for if we could add them in. I believe he's let me know that he did submit the questionnaire because he was represented by proxy for the meeting. Don't know if Kamala can chime in on that or not. If we can add them in. Okay, we'll verify and add it. Thank you, Kamala. So with that being said, don't know if there's anything else. Yes, Peggy.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
A quick question. I think Bellingham Cold Storage submitted a questionnaire and registered, but could not get on. Is that, and I apologize, I didn't hear, I know you addressed this earlier, but is there any special designation we give them, or they stay
I would
just members but not in attendance?
Because people that are on this list that aren't highlighted did submit a questionnaire. Whether or not they tried to participate or not, had they given their proxy maybe to someone, would have been different representation.
Gotcha.
I believe.
Okay, and then are we going to list observers? We've got at least
okay.
2. Martin Page has added a comment in the chat room, and I think we could probably list Mr. Basargan from K-Bay as an observer.
Okay, perfect. Makes it. Okay.
Perfect, thanks.
Martin agrees with the approach. So we'll just let Ed finish up here, but I believe that covers it. Jessie? No, okay. So I guess I will call to adjourn the meeting. I appreciate everyone's patience with Jessie and I in trying to conduct the meeting. It was definitely something new for both of us, and definitely appreciate everyone's participation. So thank you.
Nice work, Chairman and Vice Chairman. Good work.
Thank you both. You did great.
Thanks a lot.
So this